All right, welcome to Rapid Unscheduled Discussion. I am your host, Patrick Moser.
And I'm your host, Arco.
Today we're going to talk about
So today we're going to talk about the Delta 4 retires, SpaceX and ESA almost collide,
Russia sends a cyborg into space,
the Vega fails, but would they find what did it?
and Starship survives a hurricane.
And more in this episode.
Today's guest is Alfonso Moreno, famous paper modeler and maker of cardstock rocket models.
And we have Daniel McCool, which is, we know him as a paper model builder, actually. And he is,
and mostly a parody account, but
yeah.
paper modeler.
So yeah, Daniel, would you introduce yourself further?
Okay, so my name is Daniel McCool. I build paper models of basically pretty much anything I like, be it planes, be it ships, aircraft, rockets, you name it. I also got the bright idea one day to run a parody account on Twitter, so that's how I pretty much met pretty much met everyone here.
Yeah, yeah, that's how we know each other. So yeah, I am on Twitter as Paper Arcanaut, and I mostly host launches and make some other videos about that. But yeah, that's how we got into the idea of doing this podcast because actually it hit us 2 days ago, or it was
Yeah,
yesterday.
about that.
Yeah, we just were unscheduled planning this, so yeah, I find the name RUD, so rapid unscheduled discussion, quite funny because it was ironic that this was unscheduled and quite rapid, and it's discussion. So yeah, that's how we got here.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm Patrick Moser. I'm also a paper model builder, and I'm also known on Reddit as user slash Daddy Elon Musk. I enjoy making memes, and I've grown to know a lot of these people in the paper modeling community as well, building rockets and talking about rockets as well.
Yeah. So tell it, Patrick. Tell about the one time your models got destroyed by your ex.
Oh boy,
Yeah, so,
this I gotta hear.
well, really, what happened was she was pounding on the door. She was mad about something that I had said to her, which I'm not going to repeat, not in this program at least. And she barges in, all screaming, fuming mad, and spots all my models. And she knows that I love building them. She knows that I loved making them, talking about them, and you know, one by one, she starts tearing them in half. And there's really nothing I could do in that situation except, shout at her, tell her to stop. But I have photos of the damage. What happened is unfortunate, but I did, get over it. I did rebuild a few rockets, but I mean, it kind of did clear some shelf space, so
Yeah.
it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty unfortunate what happened.
So yeah, that leaves Alfonso. So who are you? And yeah.
Hi guys, thanks
Cool.
for inviting me. I'm Alfonso Moreno. I'm owner and designer of the models, the card models of the space category from my website AXM Paper Models. I have a Twitter account. I am known as AXM61, and I've been online since 2006 when I created my website dedicated only to the space shuttles. And then over the years, it evolved, and for me in designing more rockets, mainly most of the space programs.
Yeah.
And and you guys, I'm pretty thankful that through groups like this, I've been, known, and it pleases me when people build my models and send nice comments about it. So
Yeah. Oh, fun
I
thing.
really have fun doing it.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm probably the only person I saw that actually stuck a rocket motor into one of your stock models and flew it.
Yep.
Landing didn't
The
go
in,
so well, but yeah.
but it was nice. We're talking about that Indian shuttle,
Yeah.
the little shuttle model. It was awesome what you did, and there's video not only on
Yeah.
my Twitter account, but I posted it on my website. When you go and check the file for that model, you can see the images. Although there is
Yeah.
no video that I have posted,
No. I'll
but it
probably
was awesome.
yeah. I'll probably post it in the like right now on screen so you can see it. Everybody that is watching. So yeah, let's move over to our news on today's webcast or today's podcast actually. So yeah, last week we had the Delta 4 retire after the Delta 4 medium. The Delta 4 heavy is still flying. It is it had 29 flights, and after that it retired, and they are continuing to fly the Delta 4 Heavy for only for the NROL, I believe. So only spy satellites are gonna use the Delta 4 Heavy anymore, and then in 2024 it is expected to retire completely, leaving that the end of the Delta family of rockets, because everything is going to move over to the Falcon.
Yep, and might I add the Delta 4 medium retired with a 100% success rate, and it was the correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first rocket that has flown so many missions, over 25, with a completely flawless record. So congrats to United Launch Alliance and Tori Bruno for accomplishing that.
Yeah.
True. Even the Atlas series doesn't have that record.
Oh. I believe the Ariane 5 had a record of close to 80 launches before it was broken by the launch inclination failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good one. I don't think we could count the first Ariane 5 launch in that though. That was a guidance program transfer from the old Ariane 4,
Yeah.
which ran, I want to say, 12-bit compared to Ariane 5's 16.
No,
So it
I
was kind of
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, it was kind of a
Yeah,
failure.
it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I did a video on it. I did the Ariane 5 rocket talk. So it was actually a 16-bit number that was converted from a 64-bit number. So
Oh,
eventually,
that's right.
yeah, it became negative, and so the rocket thought it was 90 degrees, of course, immediately corrected and blew up.
Yeah, Vega went Proton.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and also last week, ESA operations on Twitter went on a rant about how they had to move out of the way of a SpaceX satellite, which was, we presume it was deorbiting because it might have had a failure in its transmission hardware somewhere. So yeah, it crossed the orbit of the Aeolus satellite, which is looking at the atmosphere of the Earth. So they are studying the wind, and they had to move out of the way because they had a 1 in 10,000 chance in colliding. But yeah, then SpaceX afterward replied with, well, we didn't got the email, and yeah. I think that is not really useful if you are planning on having constellation with 6,000 satellites, and when you only have 60 in orbit, you fail to get an email from the US Defense. I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was the it's U.S. Defense Department that keeps track of everything in orbit.
I think the U.S.
Yeah, it's a subdivision of the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, the space wing or whatever it's called.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's generally, I think it's right now the main headquarters for this. The tracking is out here at Vandenberg. So
yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. But I think it's not that smart if you miss an email with only 60 satellites in space when you plan to have 6,000, so you can actually. Well, you need to work on it because I don't trust them having 6,000 satellites into orbit, honestly, right now at this point. They will fix it, I know, but.
I I find it kind of funny that a telecommunications company couldn't get a telecommunication.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I also pointed out how it's ironic. Starlink is like internet based, but somehow they couldn't get the internet connection to move that satellite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they learned their lesson, and every single mistake helps them, get better and better.
Yeah. What else?
All right, should we move on now to the Vega failure inquiry?
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a outcome of actually the investigation into the Vega failure, which was surprising because, as you might recall, the rocket lifted off fine and burned through its first stage, and then afterwards they they separated the two stages, ignited the second stage, and then after like 10 seconds into the burn of the second stage, something happened. The vehicle lost speed, fell back down to Earth, and was destroyed by range safety. But what they now found out what happened is that, so you have to understand the Vega is a solid rocket, like 3-stage solid rocket. And what happened is the second stage front dome of the rocket stage. So you have basically a what it is basically a tank which holds solid fuel, and they ignite the solid fuel. It burns out and flies out one end with the nozzle connected, but actually the other end, so the dome, failed to temperature and pressure. And what it did, actually, it blew off the complete second stage, so that left two two parts, with like the the second stage, and then the third stage, and the payload, and the fourth stage. So yeah, they found out what happened. They didn't specify what exactly caused it, if it was a manufacturing failure or if it just simply was randomness. But they won't fly the Vega until the first quarter of 2020, so they have at least 4 months until they are going to fly it again. So I assume they are still finding out what exactly happened, what exactly caused it, and I hope they will fix it and don't have another blow up again, because it was a pretty reliable rocket, because it had 14 successful flights out of 14, so perfect, spotless.
And seeing a Vega launch, it looks absolutely stunning. The incredible acceleration it provides on liftoff, because it's all solid. The second it ignites, it just clears the pad in like half a second.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna miss seeing these.
it ignites and it's already it's already halfway up the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the nice part about only having one solid. You don't have to hold down to make sure both, have even burns and wait for the liquid fuels to ignite and whatnot.
Yeah, it's not Ariane 5 where they have the 7 seconds for diagnostics on the Vulcan engine.
Yeah.
It's just let it go.
Yeah. Which is if the Vulcan engine isn't burning correctly, it's quite expensive to switch the igniters, because the igniters are actually made in the Netherlands, so where I live. But the igniters are 30,000 euros a piece, so that is probably $40,000. So they're expensive. So if the engine
Yeah,
fails,
it's in the neighborhood of $40,000 to about $45,000,
yeah,
if I remember my conversion math correctly.
yeah, it's somewhere in that range.
But that's not really much money if you're a space agency. Just
No.
when a rocket costs $62 million upwards.
Yeah, the Ariane 5 is
Dollar,
the Ariane 5 is 150 million.
yeah.
Yeesh. The price of a shuttle flight.
It was 700 million to 1.5 billion, right?
Somewhere.
Yeah, something like that.
It was about
Depending on the payload.
million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ironic. Most of it was reusable, except for the fuel tank.
Yeah, and
It still costs so much.
yeah. I heard somewhere that it was more or actually more expensive to reuse the solid boosters than to just throw them away.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why the SLS is
Yeah,
recovering.
yeah, the
Oh yeah, the SLS is on.
metal and salt water don't tend to mix.
No, they don't. The Dragon had some problems with that too, so yeah.
Yeah, which I'm glad they figured out what happened, but still, it's just I don't see DM2 launching in December, January maybe.
Yeah, I remember DM1 was like net, November, and it ended up launching sometime in when was it? Late January, I think February,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
somewhere then. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we're probably
just
still
add
in
about 3
between.
months of timeline.
Same thing will happen with Boeing's capsule though. They're not gonna launch in 2019 either. No way.
Well, I don't expect them until halfway through 2020 because they still need to do the pad abort.
Yeah.
Well, same for SpaceX. They still need to do the in-flight abort before they can actually fly crew. So yeah.
In-flight abort, I believe, is still tentatively scheduled for November.
Still okay.
Most of the
Yeah,
hardware
still.
is already done for in-flight abort, and the mission is simple in terms of hardware because the booster doesn't really have to survive. It just has to, you know,
Exist.
make it through like 60 seconds, and then it can whatever happens. There's no second.
It just has to exist to the point of it doesn't have to exist anymore.
Exactly.
The only point is the capsule that needs to be precisely. You know what is fascinating about the Apollo in-flight abort is the actual launch kind of went south on the abort, and
Yep.
they actually had to abort, and somehow aborting on the abort proved the abort, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, when the roll gyroscope on the Little Joe that launched was installed incorrectly, so the vehicle just started just rolling, and it tore the vehicle apart, and it tore one of the safety cables that was used to save the escape system. When one of those cables would tear out, that's what it would trigger the escape system. So it honestly proved to be a better test than they could have asked for.
yeah, especially because the solid rocket, um, what do you call it, the booster on the first stage was still burning at a
Yeah.
high amount of thrust, and the capsule was still able to pull away. So
Yeah,
even
even as the booster stage, the Little Joe 2 tore apart, it was still in thrust, still having massive amounts of thrust.
yep.
I actually made it when I went out to Mojave recently, it's where they did all the testing for it. I actually found a piece of the little Joe, and I have it somewhere. I forgot what I did with it, but I have it somewhere.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
cool.
that's amazing. That is amazing. Little piece of American history there.
Little pieces, yeah.
The White Sands Missile Range, right?
No, they did all the flight testing for the escape system because it was built by North American. They did it out here in Edwards slash Mojave.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. All of the F1 engines for the Saturn V were fired out here before they were shipped out to Marshall for assembly.
Yeah, and then they were fired in the five, the configurations of five,
Yep,
if I remember correctly, and then they were shipped to the Cape, and
yep.
they saw the whole country
Yeah, they were mounted and
basically.
then they were barged down to Kennedy.
It was a huge rocket, even in today's
Oh,
standards.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the next news thingy. That was Starship survives a hurricane. Well, not really a direct hit of a hurricane, but I believe it was in tropical force wind. So
It was tropical force winds, but before we go any further, can we wish those in the Bahamas a speedy recovery of their island? Have our thoughts out for them. If you can donate, donate. They really do need help. Most of the island is underwater. They got hit pretty hard by Category 5, and it was absolutely brutal. It was above them for like 2 or 3 days because the hurricane just completely stalled right over the Bahama mainland. And yeah, they really do need all the help they can get. So they really did get a lot of bad weather there. So I just wanted to start off with that. But then, yeah, Coco in Florida did have tropical force winds as well as most of the Florida East Coast. Um, I know I had tropical force winds here. Yeah, Starship survived perfectly. They put it in the tent that they constructed, and it held up pretty well. And work has already begun building Starship all over again. So,
yeah, well, they didn't really have damage, so they wouldn't have to build it again. They just continue building it.
mhm.
So, yeah.
It's not like what happened in Boca Chica when the Starhopper nose cone blew over. It stayed on the ground, and we won't have a rocket launching without a nose cone anymore.
Yeah, it's not gonna be turned
Yeah.
into a
And
engine test thingy.
It won't.
yeah, Hopper is yes.
Yeah, Hopper is vertical
Yeah,
test stand if I'm correct.
yeah, historic test stand. Completely
Wonder if
normal.
I wonder if they'll test three engine configuration on Hopper before they test it on Starship, something like that. Because if
They
Hopper blows
might.
up right now, if Hopper blows up on a test stand, it's much better than a Starship, which they really is more important to them.
Yeah, I think they're gonna need
That's
to
why.
tie it down though if they
Of
test
course,
three engines because three Raptors full thrust. That thing is gonna take off like the Vega.
they're also
Yeah,
they're also gonna
it's going to
need
take off like Vega, considering how lightweight Hopper actually is in comparison to the thrust of the Raptors. It, three of those, you'd have to you'd have to run them at one third the power for a standard for a single Raptor engine. But you're going to have you might actually you actually might tear off the if they do the shackle system like they did when before all the hop tests. Three
Yeah.
Raptor engines full thrust could theoretically tear the fins off.
I think they
Yeah.
might build a building, like they did with the 9-engine Merlin test when they tested those, and just like every single booster test, they kind of construct a building, they static fire them like that, and they'll also need a flame trench of some sorts to three Raptors is some serious stuff. The acoustics
That
suck a little
for
bit.
for three Raptors, that flame trench would probably be about the size of one out at Launch Complex 39. It would have to
No,
be
not
something just enormous
three Raptors is
to deal
insane.
with the
I would
amount
say
of power
something
those
more
things
like
have.
LC 49 or not 40 41. My bad. Something like more
Yeah,
modern
no,
for 35
it'd have
Raptors.
to be something massive
For the
to be able to
35
deal
full
with
Raptors
the
on Starship,
amount of power.
geez, you wouldn't. I don't think any launch pad in the world could handle the full force of a Starship with the full 35 on the bottom of Super Heavy. There needs to be a lot of changes to 39A before Super Heavy can even be tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the beginning of the year when we were building or assembling the hopper, the original configuration did have three Raptors, but I think there were fake Raptors. These were not real Raptors, huh?
No,
They were
they were dummy Raptors. They were just
Dummy.
engine belt. That's it.
All right.
yeah.
Although never they ever test all three Raptors at once?
They don't even have the
No.
thrust structure in
They
place for
haven't
three.
yet,
I
huh?
think it was
Yeah, they only have the thrust structure for one right now.
Okay.
Yeah. They well, if they need like the giant pad, I believe Elon mentioned that the pad that was built, so 39A, that was built for the Saturn V was actually built for more than the Saturn V, so they will be able to put.
It was overbuilt.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
Yeah, it was
with.
originally intended for a Nova.
Yeah. But I don't know if with all the changes to the Starship, if they actually need to beef it up so it can support the Starship and Super Heavy.
Can you imagine what
Maybe.
the
It'll be
flame
interesting
trail
to see on that
will
one.
look like?
Yeah. I can't imagine what the hold down clamps will be like because they will need to be able to withstand 35 Raptors firing at once. Well,
Yeah.
the vehicle's fully fueled, of
Yeah.
course, but yeah.
I don't know how the rocket won't shake
Yeah.
itself to pieces. You know, the 35 Raptors firing at once would create vibrations so bad. They were worried about vibrations on Falcon Heavy shaking it to pieces.
Yeah.
And Falcon Heavy has 27 Merlins, which are weaker than Raptors. So imagine what 35 Raptors will do.
Yeah, but I imagine that the ignition sequence will be a lot longer to start up all the
Yeah.
engines.
Yeah.
Minimize vibrations and hopefully oscillation once in flight.
Yeah. Well,
If I had to
with
guess, they would start out with the innermost engine on the Super Heavy going out like with each ring. Wait for those to ignite. Further out one ring. Wait for that to ignite.
yeah.
Because Super Heavy does have that ringed engine pattern.
Yeah, indeed. But also with oscillation, I think it's easier with all the multi-engine configuration because they can be throttled. So in theory, if you would have oscillation, you might be able to shut down a few engines to limit the like the pogo oscillation.
Probably, yeah.
Imagine how bright Super Heavy with 35 Raptors will be at night. It would turn it would turn it from night to day.
Yeah. Well, imagine a dawn or dusk launch with the super heavy starship.
Would would methane launches leave like a plume trail, kind of like the Atlas and Falcon 9 leave?
Yeah, because it's still producing CO2 and water vapor, so The water vapor freezes
Yeah.
instantly.
But Hydrolox engines, they don't leave much of a trail.
No, but that is because the RL10 is vacuum optimized, like the Merlin vacuum engine.
Oh,
Like the expansion is more, so the yeah,
yeah,
it's,
Yeah, there's less of a vapor trail off of a vacuum optimized engine compared to a sea level engine, where the
yeah,
exhaust gases
so,
fan out more as the higher you go.
yeah,
With a vacuum optimized engine, you already have that engine bell which is dispersed, where the exhaust gases come up the surface of the engine bell, and then it's a sharp release compared to a sea level engine where it's just down the belt release. You don't have the atmospheric pressure helping keep the exhaust gases together.
yeah. And yeah, well, maybe have you ever seen the movie or the clip of a RL10 firing in a test stand where the water vapor on the outside of the nozzle like freezes to the nozzle, so you can see these like icicles forming on the side of the
Yeah,
nozzle.
the icicles growing on the base of the engine belt, which
Yeah,
is insane because the RL10 can deep throttle to 20% of rated thrust,
yeah, 20%.
something ridiculous like that.
Yeah,
yeah. The RL10 can be associated to United Launch Alliance's amazing, track record and orbital insertion accuracy because the way it can deep throttle, it can really place anything into an orbit so precise, much more precise than a overpowered Merlin engine with
yeah,
running low on fuel, so its thrust to weight is incredibly high. The Merlin might overshoot, your orbit insertion.
yeah. Although it has been pretty
Yeah,
precise, so
Yeah, but
it,
not as
it
good as
has. I will give the Merlin that, but to reach the consistency that the RL10 has is just the RL10 is just leagues above the Merlin in
and
every single way.
The RL10's been flying since the 1970s, right? It's if not the
Exactly.
60s, I think.
Actually no, the RL10 was actually started early days of the Apollo program because they used it on the Saturn One.
Yeah, the Saturn
So
One
it
too.
was 1963.
Yeah, it's really old. It's done amazing work, and it is the most efficient, engine in the world.
yeah, it is. So yeah, the let's move on to like our main segment because we have been talking about the news for way too long. But
We've been rambling.
yeah, we've been running. But that was the idea. It is not for nothing called
Yeah.
unscheduled discussion. So yeah. Yeah, Arcaspace. They recently released a new video about their new, well, not really new launch system, I guess you would call it. They call it Alien.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, they well, actually in their most recent video, they explained they had to switch out the tanks on the test stand because what they do actually is superheat water, release it through nozzle. The water is about 250 degrees Celsius, and then it just instantly forms steam. The steam goes out of the nozzle and you get thrust. But the only downside is that it has really low specific impulse, and the rocket has high thrust, low burn time. But what they decided in the last test was immediately after the test concluded, they would shut down the engine, so they would close all the valves and just let it sit there. What they didn't think of was that if you have water and turn it into steam, you have like water vaporizes to 1700 times its volume as a liquid. And what happened is the water cooled off. It went back into a liquid, formed a vacuum in the tank, and the tank actually imploded and it ruptured. And they tried to fix it, but it was too broken, so they have to make a new tank.
Reminds me of that one MythBusters episode where
Yep.
they were discussing
I was just thinking that.
with the train car. What was it? The tanker, and
Yeah,
some guy was
a
power washing it
55,000
with
gallon
steam.
tank car.
Yeah, some guy was power washing it with a steam power hose, and it started to rain outside, so he sealed off the the tanker car with the steam in the inside, and the rain cooled it off, even more. And when he came back, the tanker basically crumpled in on itself,
Oh wow.
kind of like a crushed soda can. And now they did prove it. It is possible. I think that was the result.
Okay.
I would have loved to have heard. I would have loved to have heard the noise it made when that tank just imploded on itself.
Well, looking at the pictures, or are you referring to the giant tanker?
No. Just Arca's tank. Just
Arcas
hearing
thing, yeah,
that
okay.
sound. I've seen that episode and it's still hilarious.
Yeah, I when I heard it, I face palmed. It was like, no, you are building a steam
No,
rocket. Why haven't you thought of this? But yeah, it's not
uh,
off to a good start. Not really.
no. I mean, their idea for an aerospike is great because aerospikes are technically the engine of the future because they, in a vacuum environment, they do have a little more thrust than a conventional rocket engine,
Yeah, and
and
they
they're a
have
little more fuel efficient.
yeah, but then they want to use it in the region where it is less efficient, and it loses out to a conventional bell nozzle because
Yeah.
uh, a aerospike engine due to hypersonic or supersonic flow is least efficient between Mach 0.9 and Mach 1.2, I believe. So, and they're only gonna fly it up to Mach 1.5, the first stage, so the water
Oh, boy.
part. So they will fly it right through the most inefficient part and then shut it down. And it will only get it up to 300 meters per second, and the rest of the way is going to be taken by the second stage, which is going to be powered by kerosene and hydrogen peroxide. And they have an argument that the water is clean and it reduces the amount of fuel they need, but 300 meters per second is not a lot of speed you get from water.
No, no.
Yeah.
300 meters a second is what Beresheet had when it impacted. That's not going to get you much.
No, and it is adding to that they have just real low specific impulse, so they need a lot of water to get that going.
I mean, you have seen the renderings for their first stage. They might be able to pull that off.
Yeah, but looking at what they have for the rest, it doesn't really look like something you want to have, like want to fly on, because
No.
they promise a less polluting system, which I don't really see happening because you at what altitude? Because their white paper specifies which altitudes. So they will launch it to a altitude of 3 kilometers, so that would be 9,000 feet, and to a speed of 1,500 kilometers per hour, so that is 300 meters per second. So that would be roughly 990 feet per second. So comparing that to orbital speed and the height where they need to go through, one year staging at basically just past max Q, which isn't really gonna help you.
No, that puts additional strain on the vehicle.
Yeah, they would need to beef it up, and I don't see it happening because it has too much complications. Well, if you would have a water stage that would burn for longer, take it past its max Q and drop it at like 10 kilometers, so 30,000 feet or maybe higher, I would see the use of this. But dropping it this slow with this amount of speed it has to make to go to orbit, I don't see it happening.
No. Yeah, Arca, they have a good idea, and it's just they're implementing it completely the wrong way.
Yeah. I would see this work if they switch from water to something that has more energy. So they don't need
If they
to.
switch it over to a lock, if they switch over to a lock system, hydrolock system, they could actually do quite a lot.
Yeah, indeed.
But which is honestly cleaner burning than just plain water because you're just making water.
Yeah. Well, if you would only fuel it with hydrogen peroxide, it will break down into oxygen and water, which aren't really that polluting. So
Wasn't
you
the
Yeah.
Titan 2 rocket powered on hydrogen peroxide?
no, it was.
Oh yeah. No.
No, I think it was hypergolic. It was UDM,
Yeah, Titan 2 was
UDMH and
hyper UDMH and N2O4.
yeah. But you would get a lot of efficiency if you would just run hydrogen peroxide over a catalyst bed and then have the steam and oxygen gas flow out the engine, which was their Demonstrator 3 ID, and I was kind of looking forward to it, but now they're gonna just use water, which is eh.
Yeah.
Well, and funny thing, they have like at the end of their white paper, they say Falcon Heavy has a polluting propellant mass of 1,397 tons, but in fact, the Falcon Heavy only makes carbon dioxide and water, which, well, carbon dioxide is bad for the atmosphere, but
Doesn't it also
polluting.
release a lot of sooty carbons as well?
Yeah, but that is
Yeah.
is
Kerosene does burn off a lot of carbon.
Kerosene does give
as
off an
well.
extra carbon atom.
There's like hundreds of different types of carbon molecules or whatever that form from the heat and everything of the kerosene, right?
yeah, okay, but yeah. Oh yeah, there's also a part of the like the heat changes the nitrogen and oxygen into the atmosphere into nitrogen dioxide or nitrogen monoxide, which isn't really good, but you would still have the same thing if with the second stage igniting at 3 kilometers. So what else? Well, and they have the SLS, which is most of the SLS is just hydrogen and oxygen, and they present it as the polluting propellant mass. Or they
I mean,
didn't.
okay.
They only took the solid
The
rocket
only
boosters.
thing polluting about the SLS is the boosters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then it drops a huge load into the ocean.
Yeah, sure. It does drop a giant orange stage somewhere over the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, so did the space shuttle. I'd
Yeah.
actually like to see it.
Actually, no, that went a little further. That went into the Pacific.
I'd like to see it.
Well, the SLS is going further, right? They are going to put it into a 120 kilometer by 46 kilometer orbit.
Yeah, initial parking, and then especially on, I can never get it right. Artemis 1, I still refer to it as EM1.
I like EM1.
Artemis 1, it does work. But with EM1, it's doing, it's essentially doing Apollo 8, flying out around the moon, doing some tests out there, and then coming back. But we're also dealing with, especially on the SLS, we're dealing with an RL-10 on essentially a delta cryogenic second stage. Granted, there's a few minor changes here and there, but it's still essentially the same stage.
Yeah.
SLS, which that's getting, I believe that once that's done, I believe that's getting impacted onto the moon, onto the lunar surface, pretty much like the S4Bs.
Yeah.
And it's also bringing CubeSats along in the Orion adapter, correct?
Yeah,
And
it
they're not
does. It
just
does have a
CubeSats.
few.
They're pretty big for CubeSats. They're
They're
roughly
between
7
three. Yeah, they're about 12U,
hmm
12U CubeSats.
Yeah, and one bad thing about the RL-10 is the incredibly low thrust it has, but you can't really change that because even if you upscale it, the expander cycle, the closed expander cycle engine works only in a way where like this is the most efficient size it works at, so you can't really increase the thrust by increasing the size, and like the
Yeah,
injection burn to the moon only lasts like how long is it? Like 7 to 13 minutes, somewhere in that range. I'm not
it's
100% sure.
9-minute burn.
Yeah, somewhere in it's long. It's gonna be a long burn to get
Yeah.
from low Earth orbit to the moon. So
Yeah, the expander cycles are limited to 700 kilonewtons, I believe, or yeah, something like that.
yeah, because you can't make the what do you call it?
You can't make the
Combustion chamber
a
big
nozzle
enough.
big enough, so
I thought it was something with the combustion chamber with the cooling and for it to
yeah,
heat
because
and whatnot.
the space inside the nozzle grows with
Yeah,
uh
surface area to volume ratio.
yeah, volume is like to the power 3, and then surface area is to the power 2, so eventually they cross and you can't make the engine big enough.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate though because closed expander cycles are perfect for
Yeah.
cryogenically fueled rockets, but the thrust is incredibly low. But it's perfect for interplanetary. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can keep burning for as long as you want. It's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
Voyager 2.
It's say
I
again.
don't remember if it was Voyager 2 or Voyager 1, but one of the upper stages. It, it actually, yeah, it was Voyager 1 because it 1 second. Voyager 1 had, because it launched so late and it needed to catch up and pass Voyager 2, it burned through much of its fuel.
Hmm
And because Titan, I think the Titan 3 used a Centaur upper, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But as it burned through most of its fuel, it had, I think, 6 seconds of thrust available to it
hmm
when once it reached the appropriate velocity, and that burn was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah. Amazing job on
yeah,
the Voyager teams though to in that time with that level of technology to nail both interplanetary injections to get those gravity assists. It was amazing calculations and
Yeah.
amazing jobs from the launch vehicles too.
Voyager is still one of my favorite missions ever.
Hmm Yeah, the last time the Voyager missions could have been done was when Thomas Jefferson was in office. That's
Yeah,
how they presented the idea to, I think it was Nixon, for him to greenlight the mission. The NASA engineers told him the previous time the planets were aligned like this was when Thomas Jefferson became elected in office. So it was incredibly rare
Yeah,
that
it's a
planets were aligned like that.
rare occurrence. About rare
also
occurrence.
interesting to point out.
No, yeah, point that out.
Also interesting to point out on Voyager 1, if Voyager 1 had not swung by Titan, we would have had images of Pluto right around 1989.
Yeah.
Pluto was in the perfect spot for Voyager 1 to snag a photo of, but they saw Titan and they were like, "Oh, pretty thing, let's go."
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's all worth it because what is it? New Horizons has a lot better of a camera. Flew by it. And,
Oh, leagues better camera than what Voyager had.
say again.
Oh, New Horizons has a camera that is leagues ahead of what
Oh yeah.
Voyager had.
Of course. So in all aspects, it's a fair game somewhat because we got Titan and we got Pluto, all with a
Yeah,
bunch of other
that's
planets in
true.
between.
Yeah. And talking about Titan, it's a moon, so let's move on to the moon and its newest crater.
Oh.
uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
I
I'm
kind of
keeping.
feel bad for for attempts this year. They're
Yeah,
1 for 3.
yeah. Well, China,
1 for 3 on moon landing attempts this year.
yeah, China nailed
Yeah,
it.
China landed, and Israel and India both created had craters. So
They
I
litho
feel bad.
braked on the moon. So yeah. Oh,
What does fascinate me is I saw this somewhere on Twitter.
what?
Um, someone who right here the Vikram had to be redesigned because of vibrations um, with the throttling thrusters, and a lot of people are starting to speculate.
Oh no, they added a fifth engine because they needed more thrust to land it on the moon for some reason. It was supposed to. I think it was heavier than it was supposed to be, so they added another engine.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is probably what happened.
And then it boom.
It started spinning.
Yeah.
Uh,
It wasn't even a fast rotation. It was kind of slow, but that just proves it when something's off like that and you can't stop it. It might as well be 9,000 RPM or 4 RPM. You know.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things we still don't know because they said we lost the telemetry at 2.1 kilometers, while the graph still showed it going down to 400 meters. So
Yeah. What if it did land and
yeah,
there's no way of knowing that it did? Is that possible?
that might be possible, but then again, the Doppler shift graph on the S-band telemetry. So, like that, there was an amateur astronomer that captured the S-band signal coming in, and then he tracked the descent with the Doppler shift. But it showed some weird wiggling at the end, and then it abruptly stopped. So we are quite sure it crashed.
That's a shame. And I really do feel bad for India
let,
because
let, let's just hope that let's hope Vikram didn't have any tardigrades on it because why are we trying to infest the moon with tardigrades?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, they got closer than Israel, so people suspect some of the experiments might have survived.
The laser ranging experiment, just like Apollo had, that might have survived.
Oh yeah, we will know in a few weeks when or the orbiter comes over or the lunar reconnaissance orbiter snaps a picture of it.
yeah.
LRO is due first over the site.
Do you know when?
I believe let me check my calendar. It is the 7th at summer recording. I believe it is due over either the 21st or the 22nd.
Ah, okay.
That's a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit.
What
But yeah, Chandrayaan two,
Starship will
it's
land?
not due over until the 30th.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't have those dates on hand, so I didn't know who was gonna be first.
Yeah, Planet Labs 4589 on Twitter. I forget his name, but he does a lot of orbital data, and there's a website called CalSky that I recommend
Ah,
that
okay.
you could do pretty much any body. CalSky.org is fantastic.
So yeah. It was sad they crashed, but we will find out what exactly happened in the. Probably they will have a lot of telemetry that shows what happened.
Probably they'll probably announce what happens soon, especially because the prime minister was there, so
Yeah.
he probably would like to find out why.
Yeah.
But then again, a politician was there. Things generally don't tend to go well when politicians are there.
No. Well. Yeah, well, but when the Israeli lander crashed, I find it quite funny that during the descent, the inertial reference unit basically just crashed. It had a it had a blue screen moment.
Yep, I'm like, oh, they're using Windows.
Yeah. And then the computer was like, "Okay, let's shut the engines down."
Schiaparelli.
Yeah. Oh god. That was one of these worst ESA disasters ever. But I don't
It really was,
understand.
which is
Yeah.
unfortunate.
How I don't understand how a rotational moment can cause the computer to think it is actually below ground.
I feel like that'd be some sort of glitch that would happen in a KSP or orbiter, and not real life.
Yeah. But in KSP, you can just revert to launch and then do it again.
Don't revert to lunch. Revert to your last save point.
Well,
If you remember to quick save it,
that's the point. I mostly forget that, and then like I crash on the surface, and I'm like, why didn't I save like on descent? But yeah,
5 minutes before every maneuver, I always run a quick save just in case.
yeah. I need to put that up on a note somewhere, so I like stick it on my monitor.
Save before maneuver.
Yeah.
I've lost many a spacecraft doing that.
Yeah. Well, have you checked out the Rocket Talk episode about the Ariane 5? I was actually maneuvering
I
away.
haven't. I need to.
Oh, yeah. You need to check it out. I was maneuvering the second stage away from the satellite, so the lower passenger, but instead of maneuvering it away, I was actually thrusting it towards it. So I almost collided with the shuttle. I made some fun comments about it on the episode itself.
Yeah, I'll need to definitely look that one up.
Yeah. So, with that, we're gonna move into the final segment, which is Russia sends a cyborg to space and safely returns it to the Earth.
MS-14.
MS-14, indeed. So, this was one of the rarest Soyuz spacecrafts that launched to the... Actually, it launched to the International Space Station, but without crew. This was to test the... newer version of the Soyuz rocket. They have been flying this version on for commercial payloads and for satellites already, but they needed to test it for a crew because of the launch escape system that could potentially trigger
MS-13 flashbacks.
MS-10.
Oh, my bad.
MS-10.
MS-10. Yeah.
Oh god.
MS-13 launched just fine.
Yeah, correct. MS-10.
Yeah. I was actually watching that from I was on a school excursion, and the it's very rare I miss a launch because I mostly sneak my phone into class and then just watch it on my phone, or I wake up at night.
Sounds like something I do at work.
But
I watch the first heavy launch at work.
oh yeah, well, it was at night here, so both of the times, I believe. But anyway, I didn't have internet connection, and I don't have an unlimited cellular data, so I was just checking my Twitter, and then all of a sudden this image comes up. This is not a normal Korolev cross, and I was like, uh-oh.
He goes, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
I remember I woke up and I just had a bad feeling. Like, I thought about the Soyuz launch. I thought it had, gone off well, but something inside me was like, what if it didn't? And I hadn't seen anything until in the morning when I checked my phone, and there it was. They had to do the emergency inflate abort, and yeah, I was like, geez, how did I kind of like sense that?
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same for the Las Vegas launch. I woke up. I was on holiday. I woke up for it. I set my alarm, and right before launch, I was like, "Well, what if this fails? That wouldn't be funny because, yeah, things." And then it failed, and I was like, "Well, I shouldn't have thought of that."
Yeah, honestly, Vega, that launch I wasn't able to watch. I, I think I was out with some friends that night, and I wasn't able to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get home and check my phone, and Twitter's just going crazy that Vega had failed.
Yeah. But the MS-14 was actually the only minor thing that happened was the docking failure, which was kind of strange, and I don't know if they're gonna have to do an EVA for it.
Considering it was one of the boosters on one of the signal boosters on one of the antennas.
Yeah, but
probably. But that could also because where it's at on was it, I don't remember which of the mini docking modules is up top. But I believe if I remember correctly, those are behind one of the panels on the inside. They could probably swap that out. No problem.
Yeah, because I heard some chatter that they were asking flight control for some pictures of the exact locations. So I didn't know if it was on the outside and if they were like sort of training for a EVA or if it was on the inside and they would just have to pull off a panel of the wall and swap it out.
Yeah.
But then they had to do the Soyuz dance with Soyuz MS-13 and remove it from the Zvezda aft port and then manually dock it to the which port?
I want to say Piers.
Alfonso might know.
Hold on, I've got my space station book here. Hold on.
The one that
I think it's Piers up top.
Yeah, it is Piers or the Poisk, but I don't know. Poisk. I call it Poisk. I don't know why.
Because it is Poisk.
Yeah, Poisk. Yeah, well.
Oh, that's right. I put it away.
But yeah, they had to manually dock it, and then the Soyuz MS-14 could dock to the aft port of the Zvezda. And I believe...
Terminator thing.
Yeah, the Terminator thing. I think it was scary because after it was into orbit, it started waving its flag.
I hope that was a command sent from somebody in mission control. If that thing is autonomous, I fear for the world.
Didn't they
you saw the footage it had of it during testing, right?
Yeah.
yeah, shooting off pistols. I'm like, yeah, that's that's
Send that to this.
yeah.
Yeah.
They also taught it how to drill using a power drill.
So use MS9.
MS09 flashbacks.
Yeah, that was questionable.
I know what they did. They
Very
let
questionable.
they let the Terminator into the Soyuz MS9 beforehand. It drilled the hole into the side, and then they launched it. That's what happened.
And then it
Probably, yeah, I wouldn't put it
Probably.
past Russia.
Yeah, okay.
it was also the one that accessed Anne McClain's her partner's bank account and
Yeah.
committed the first space crime.
Well, I didn't think it was really a space crime. It just was throwing mud at each other because these two were divorced, right? So it was just having
It's
a
just a.
fight.
It's not a crime. It's just a misunderstanding.
No, yeah,
And if I remember correctly, the hole was actually in the orbital segment, not the crew segment.
yeah, it was in the orbital segment. So Kolonenko had to go out with who was it? I don't remember.
Pair of scissors and a knife.
Yeah, and he was actually cutting into the installation, and then flight control told him to take it slow.
I don't see why it was.
Understandably, because
Anyways.
hey, even that kind of debris can do some sort of damage at orbital velocity.
Yeah. And he had a knife close to his suit, so.
It was like, yeah, I'm surprised he didn't grab the machete out of the Soyuz capsule and just start cutting at it.
Yeah. I believe that is actually stowed away somewhere, so it might be harder to reach.
It is. It's under the commander's couch.
Can you imagine having your
It's under the
spacecraft
commander's
being knocked
couch.
out of orbit by a piece of fluff from a Soyuz installation?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, they still have a shotgun in the Soyuz capsule.
Still?
Yeah,
I
they
don't know if they still
do.
have it.
So they can shoot bears if they, for some
Just in
reason,
case.
yeah, land in Siberia.
I thought they discontinued that, sometime after the Cold War ended.
Nope. Nope. It's still a protection protection just in case
Yeah.
the
So there are
Soyuz capsule
firearms.
overshoots the primary landing site in Kazakhstan and winds up in northern central Siberia.
So there are firearms on the space station.
Yeah.
No.
Well, not on the space station, but on the orbital
Attached.
complex.
Attached to the space station, basically.
Yeah. Oh wow, we've already been going for over an hour. Oof.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
Ooh.
No, we need to do a meme review.
Yeah, exactly.
Next week.
Yeah, well, we can stretch it for longer because this is a sort of pilot episode. So yeah.
That's true. There is that.
So okay, I'm gonna move to memes. We have memes. Okay. If you go to the Discord, like there is a meme page, and we have the memes in there. We start from the top, so I will put them in on screen, so everybody's able to see them. So yeah, first meme.
Disclaimer: I have made a couple of these, so I might be a little bit impartial to them.
I find them quite funny. So yeah, go ahead and read the first one, any of you.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Alright, this is Mission Control Center, #Vikram Lander descent was as planned, and normal performance was observed up to an altitude of 2.1 kilometer. Subsequently, communication from the lander to the ground station was lost. Data is being analyzed, #ISRO, and Then there's the bear sheet with the guy from GTA going, "Oh shit, here we go
Ah,
again."
shit, here we go again. I rate this.
Actually, a very convincing accent there, Arco.
Yeah. I rate this 7 out of 5 Saturns. Anybody else?
6.
8.
8. Okay.
You made it, Patrick. Of course you'd give it 8.
No, I didn't make this one. I made the next one.
I find this quite funny. ULA sniper strikes again.
Oh,
I made
Tori.
this one.
Who is gonna
Love
be?
you.
Who is the spotter? Is that who would that be?
Jim Bridenstine.
Bridenstine or Bezos? Somebody?
No, he has hair.
Yeah.
Well, that could explain the tumbling anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it was. Maybe that's what the latest ULA launches were for.
Ah. No, I know what happened. They secretly shot the Centaur into a collision course with the Chandrayaan lander, and exactly at the point it was supposed to land, the center stage was like, nope, I'm gonna hit this and take it out. That's what happened.
Someone needs to do that in KSP.
Ooh.
Make a Centaur go from
Paging
geostationary
Matt
to
Lown.
transfer.
Challenge accepted.
Alright, next
Oh, boy.
Okay, next one. Chandrayaan 2 communications link 2 kilometers above the surface. I'm head out.
I'm a head out.
Yeah.
That one I like. That's good. That's the solid 8 from me.
Yeah, that's a solid 8.5.
Alright, next one. This one's one of my favorite.
Oh, I love this one.
Let Daniel do this one.
Lunar Impactor, uncrewed. Congratulations on hitting the moon. We're getting some great data here. Contract.
Well, actually, they didn't get data, but well.
Well, technically, they did have some data up until the point of they didn't.
Yeah, up the point of litho breaking on the moon.
I rate that one in.
It'll be interesting to see the crater on this one, because I remember the crater for Bear Sheet. So
Yeah. Well, this might not have vaporized. It might just be a pile of crumpled
junk at this point.
junk. Yeah.
Yeah, because Bear Sheet you saw impact site and some debris.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I rate this one 9.
Yeah, this is a solid 9 for me too.
Same.
Alright, next one.
So, me, stop changing Starship, SpaceX in 2019.
Oh, that face.
I'll fucking do it again.
That face, though.
Yeah.
That is just beautiful.
Yeah, apparently Starship does have legs again. What?
What? Oh boy.
Yeah, it has fins and legs. Ugh.
I give this one a good rating, but I don't like the design.
If Starship gets landing gear, I'm like, yep, here we go, Shuttle 2.0. Which is actually more in line with what the shuttle originally would have done, but
Yeah.
So yeah, I rate this one a 5.
is what you were talking about, Arco. Here's
Yeah.
yours.
6.
Yeah. Low effort meme, but still good
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah, next one.
This one.
Another happy landing.
No, the one before that.
Considering it's only one. Considering the moon has eaten 2 landers so far this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the impacts are more than 20. I made this meme with the another happy landing. There's been I counted like every single failed mission to the moon, as well as missions that were purposely sent into the moon, like lunar impactors. And then I also counted the Apollo ascent modules, but I didn't have the patience or the mental like stamina to completely go back and check every single Apollo booster that might have hit the moon, or every single
The total amount of Apollo hardware that is hit the moon is you have the Apollo 13 through 17 stages, the 11, 12, 14 through 17 LEM ascent stages. That's you have total of 13 objects, if my math is correct. Probably not.
and then plus the 15 or so odd what do you call it, failed missions that happened from now
Yeah,
up to
all the early Ranger programs.
Mhm.
Yeah, those all impacted. Actually, no, there was only 2 impactors of the Ranger program that actually managed to hit the moon. The rest missed.
Yeah, but then the Soviets also sent a bunch that impacted on accident.
True, the Soviets did
And
have their Luna program.
so yeah, on the Wikipedia, there's this Wikipedia page for all the lunar missions, and there is a long, long list of all the complicated missions.
It is a very long list.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just
I remember when
made an
I remember when I
approximation.
found out that the Soviets actually put the first rover on another world. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I rate this. Well, this is not one of your best ones, Patrick. So, yeah.
Somehow it
There
got
was
more
an
votes.
effort, but
There was an effort. I'll give it a 5.5.
Somehow it gets more upvotes than a meme that I spent hours on. That's amazing. Here, I'm gonna put another meme here. Something that took me like an hour and a half just to make, and it only got like 50 upvotes. Like, what?
Yeah.
Doesn't
only
make
50.
sense. Somewhere around that. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's all the way on the bottom.
Yeah. So if you're wondering and you got this far into our podcast, these memes were taken off Reddit. They were taken off the subreddit of SpaceX Master Race. So if you want the best space memes, go there and you will find the best memes, which are 90% made by Patrick himself.
It's true.
It's pretty much just his subreddit at this point.
Yeah, at this point it is.
A lot of people are commenting that, and some people are almost comparing me to a god or godlike characteristics. It's an odd feeling, I have
Yeah.
to say.
I bet.
We should post
Comment
this
on
later on the subreddit and then have tell them that this is meme review at the end, so they have to sit through the whole hour of our
Listen
rambling.
to the full episode to get to it.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
like
we'll
it.
move on to the next meme. So I got a sneak peek from the SpaceX presentation. Starship will be smaller diameter and will be made out of wood, and then have have this picture of this lamp hanging of the ceiling. I find it funny. I rate
that's
this a
Give it
solid
a
7.
Give it a 4 because it just
Yeah.
looks like a lampshade.
Yeah.
I've seen some that are actually really good. This one is not quite up there, but it's mid tier, so 6.
Okay. So Daniel, you have the next one.
Oh,
All right, what do we got here? Oh, great, it's deep fried. Oh boy. No, the ultra cool Starman suit stays on during sex. I mean, granted, if I had that, yes, I would hardly ever take it off.
Yeah,
I give
same.
it 9.
9.5.
That's a solid 9.
Yeah,
Next one.
next one.
Oh, classic.
Who wants to read it? Should I?
Yeah, Patrick, go ahead.
All right.
Go for it, Patrick.
It's the trajectory of the Vikram lander going off course, and caption goes, "I don't like where this is going."
I was watching this, actually, I was watching the landing, and I was amazed by how centered through the corridor it was, and at that moment, it just started to deviate, and I was like, oh, well, that went good, until so far.
Well, that's not good.
Well,
This one is 7.
yeah, actually, I went,
Yeah, that's a solid 7.
yeah, for me too. Actually, with this, in real life, I went, ah, shit, here we go again.
You just see telemetry just fall off, and I was like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
Not another one.
Another one, yeah. So yeah, here we have a picture of the Curiosity rover. And then we have SLS payload, and then Starship payload. Wait, is that a shadow of somebody taking a picture photographed into it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's missing the tagline that came with it, which was, well, you gotta take a photo of when you visit Mars. You gotta take a photo of the old rover.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I get it now.
That one honestly hurts because I actually like SLS. That one hurts.
Yeah. I rated a 5.
Give it a 4.
Yeah, it's missing the part that actually made it funny. So yeah, 5.
Daniel, do you want to do the next one?
What do we get? Don't cry, babe. It's just a movie. Don't cry, babe. It's just Vikram landing failure.
Yeah.
Oh man, we've had so many landing failures lately.
Oof, that hurt indeed.
Yeah. I'm just having Falcon Heavy Center Core flashbacks.
Yeah. I rate this a 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 for me. Patrick?
I give it a 7.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Patrick, you don't want to do
Tim Bob.
Coincidence? I think not. But, Tim Dodd pointed out on his live stream, same exact thing happened to him when he was trying to land it.
This is the point where we know that actually ISRO hired Tim Dodd to write the descent program, or he tried to control it real life, but then it didn't end up working.
What if there is an actual design flaw in it? You know, and it shows in Kerbal, and it showed in real life.
Well, that shows that the designer of the lander didn't test it in Kerbal Space Program, but Because hey, if it works in Kerbal Space Program, it works in real life.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Life is not SpaceX, Arco.
No. But well, if I some like ideas for space missions are like, well, it worked in KSP, so why wouldn't it work in real life?
And that's why you need the real. That's why you need to get real solar system mods for Kerbal Space Program. You can test it out because RSO actually is pretty good.
Yeah,
It is.
considering they did it on a like $150 million budget, this whole mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Playing with the space, playing with the bad boys of space launch. And then,
Oh, that hair though.
and then Tori Bruno replies, "Definitely my hair." And the irony is, well, Tori Bruno is bald, so yeah.
Oh, and I love Tori. Just is involved with the community, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It was funny, 'cause I sent that meme because some guy replied to Tim Dodd, with the caption, you're finally with the big boys since Tori was in his video, and to that I sent the guy who sent Tim Dodd that message this meme, and Tori himself actually responded, and I didn't see it until someone posted it on the Reddit, on the subreddit, so it kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah. I think it is pretty good, so I rated this.
It's a good meme.
It's a 7.
I rated it an 8.
6.5.
It happened in real life.
Yeah. And then we have the last one.
This is the one I sent. Only got like 50 odd votes, but it took me a long time. Sad.
Yeah, like first Vulcan rocket fairing under construction at our Kuka site, expected to fly no earlier than 2021. Go Yule, and then have the Yule fairing photoshopped onto the Starship. It's quite funny.
It's like space.
Go. Yeah, I gotta love the GOES S 5-meter payload fairing on a 9-meter rocket.
Yeah.
It's coincidentally the same paper model I'm building right now.
Oof. Oh, yeah. I gave GOES S to Remco Timmermans. Simon was in that picture too when I gave it, but actually, on that day, my Twitter account got blocked for almost a whole year.
Okay, I'm just gonna go out
Yeah.
to phase and
Whoa.
Whoa.
Just had a weird noise come to my phone here. Sorry.
Yeah. We seem to have some connectivity drop
Well,
away.
granted, I live in the middle of the desert, so I don't have the greatest internet. So.
Well, it has been working for all time, but Alfonso was saying something, but then it was interrupted.
Yeah.
One last meme.
Okay.
That
Oh, what you said. Oh.
C10, H14, O4,
14.
and O2 enter Merlin engine combustion chamber and react H2O and CO2. I'ma head out.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's good. That's a solid 8.
I made that one.
That. I give that a 9.
You want to guess how many?
Because not only is it funny, it's factual.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me look for how many it actually got.
Yeah. Okay, we've been running this for 90 minutes, so I suggest we wrap this up before it gets any longer.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Would you like to conclude it?
Yeah, we'll conclude it. So yeah, well, if you've got this far, thank you for listening, and subscribe to the channel. We expect another episode in 3 weeks or so with different guests, different topics, different memes. So yeah, thank you
hopefully
for
different memes.
hopefully different memes, and yeah, so thank you for listening, and see you, or actually, you will hear us in the next episode.